All right, I'm moving on to the second and last portion of day 2. We ended at 12, which means we are now on to 13. So we need to solve the following absolute value equation. And I want to know what is the product of the solutions. Because if you recall back, I think that's unit 3 or 2, an absolute value expression has two solutions. So like if I said, what is the absolute value of x? If the absolute value of x is 8, what are the solutions? And what I'm really asking is, what is 8 away from 0? And you would say positive 8 is 8 away, and negative 8 is 8 away. So there's two answers to every absolute value. So we're going to go through and solve this one first, and then at the end find the product of the solutions, which means multiply. So I'm going to minus 10 to both sides. And when I first made this, I was like, ooh, it's going to be no solutions. But then I realized that before I solve, I'd have to get rid of this negative 4 times the absolute value. So now I have negative 4, absolute value, x plus 3, absolute value, and then I have equals 2 minus 10 right here. 2 minus 10 is negative 8. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. Negative 8. All right, so now I have to get rid. I still can't do my solutions yet because I have the negative 4 sticking to it. That represents multiplication. So I'm going to divide both sides by negative 4 to get rid of it. Negative 8 divided by a negative 4 is a positive 2. So I have the absolute value of x plus 3 is equal to a positive 2. Okay, so let me remind you what this means. This means what inside here is 2 from 0 on a number line. So x plus 3 has to be 2 away from 0. So there's two numbers that are 2 away from 0, 2 or negative 2. So I'm going to say x plus 3 can be 2. So x plus 3 is, oh gosh, that's a 3. It doesn't even look like it. Is 2. And then it can also be negative 2. So x plus 3 is negative 2. That looks a little okay. Don't forget it's negative. And then I'm going to solve both of them and then remind myself that I need the product. So I'm going to take 3 away from both sides, and I would get x equals negative 1. That's me subtracting 3 to both sides because it's plus 3. Subtracting 3 again, negative 2 minus 3 is a negative 5. Be careful with your integers. So x is negative 5. Those are my two solutions. So they're the two numbers that make that true, but I need product. So negative 1 times negative 5, I got to multiply them together, is equal to a positive 5. All right, moving on to 14. So 14 says, JK is one side of a quadrilateral JKLM. If JKLM is a parallelogram, that's a key word, what is the slope of LM? So parallelogram means that their sides are parallel. Parallel slopes are the same. So I'm going to find the slope of this, and then that will be the slope of LM. So slope is rise over run, left to right. So it looks like I go down 1, 2, 3, 4. So down 4. And over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Down 4 over 6. And then we just need to simplify that. Divide them both by the common factors of 2. And that would be down 2 over 3. So my slope of LM, since it's a parallelogram, means they have to have the same slope, is negative 2/3. Negative 2/3. Okay, next one. A server earns $8 for each hour at a restaurant. During one 4-hour shift, the server earned $25 in tips. How much did the server earn for that shift? Well, lucky ducky server got $8 for each hour. The server worked for 4 hours, so times it by the 4 hours the server worked, plus the server got tips, so the server also gets to go home with 25 bucks. So add the 25 bucks, and you get, what, 32 plus 25? Good thing I can't do that in my head. Probably could. And 57 bucks. The server is going home with 57 buckaroos. And I don't need the dollar sign because I already have it there. Number 16. Oh yeah, this is an interesting one. I wanted to show you how to use this. So a calculator display shows 6e. Sorry about my dog there. A calculator display shows 6e8. Which of the following expressions is represented by this? 6 to the 8, 6 times 8, 6 times 10 to the 8th, 8 times 10 to the 6th. So this is something we didn't really teach you, but this E is really part of scientific notation. And you wouldn't really be able to figure this out. Let me clear this. Unless you are in, you have to go to mode. And right now I'm in normal mode. I have to go to scientific notation mode. Again, I'm in normal mode. I need scientific notation. So I hit sci, and that's my scientific notation. So anything in scientific notation will be given to me like that. So now I'm going to just evaluate each of these and see which one equals that weird 6e8. So 6 to the 8, 6 to the, remember the to the button is this caret, 8. Oh, did I not do it? 6 to the 8. Oh, what's going on here? Okay, I'm going to do it again. 6 to the 8, enter, and definitely not the 6e8. Now I'm going to go 6 times 8, enter, 4.8 e to the 1. So that means times 10 to the first, which makes sense because times 10 to the first would be you move the decimals one spot, and 6 times 10 is 48. 6 times 10, 10, move this. 6 times 10 to the 8, enter. Ooh, there's 6e8. Perfect, found it. So we found it. All right, number 17. So 17, solve the equation below for m. And to solve for m means that you need m by itself. So this one says m can't be solved for. This says m equals mn minus x, which is literally the same thing. So no, I know for a fact that's not it. M is x divided by n. M is x over n minus 1. So it's going to be one of these. What I'm going to do is get this little baby m over to the other, and I'm going to move this x to the other side. So I'm going to add x, and then I'm going to add x over here. You could multitask and do it both at once. Then I have m, n, and the x disappeared, equals m plus x. So I'm going to scoop my m to the other m. So this is a positive m. To get it to the other side, I'm going to subtract m to both sides. So minus m, minus m. Now be careful, they're actually not like terms. Even though they both have an m, they do not both have an n. So you have to keep them separate right now. So we have m, n, minus m, equals, and then that canceled out, so we have x left. So now I'm like, what the heck am I supposed to do? I have m's in 2 spots. I need to get m by itself, but I notice that m is actually shared. So sharing is a distributive situation, so I can factor that out or take it away. So it would be m. I'm going to take m out of both of them. I'm going to take it back. So if I take an m out of here, I have an n left, minus, if I take an m out of here, it's not 0. There's really a hidden 1 there. So I have a 1 left, equals x, or just x. And now I have, these are sticking together. That represents multiplying. So to get rid of multiplying, you divide. So I would divide both sides by n minus 1. And that is that letter D. The option is x over n minus 1. So D is the correct answer. 18. Oh, this one's a good one. So we gotta identify the correct graph for this given inequality. So 3 times the absolute value of x minus 5 minus 8 is greater than or equal to 1. So I'm going to add 8 to both sides quick and rewrite it over here. So 3 parenthesis x minus 5, that's an x, okay? Here, I'll make it a little nicer. X minus 5. And then it's greater than or equal to what? 9, because I added 8, so 9. Okay, I can't make any cases yet because the absolute value is not alone, so I need to divide both sides by 3. So divide this by 3. That's a 3. Oh my goodness. Now I have the absolute value of x minus 5 is greater than or equal to 3. 9 divided by 3 is 3. Okay, and then just a refresher, remember absolute value has 2 possibilities. It's what inside here is 3 away from 0. So there's 2 things that are 3 from 0, 3 and negative 3. But when you have inequalities, you have to remember you need to flip your negative 1. So it would look like this. X minus 5 is greater than or equal to a positive 3. We don't need to flip that one, because that would remain true. And then we have x minus 5 is less than or equal to negative 3. Now look what I did. I didn't really talk it through. What I did there is flipped, because I made my negative, so I flipped instead of bigger than, I made it less than. Solve both of them, so add 5 to both sides here, and I get x is bigger than 8. And then add 5 to both sides here, and I get x is less than or equal to a positive 2. So I should have different numbers here, which tells me that I made the wrong ones. So I should be, let me show you what it will look like. I'm going to have it updated by the time that you start. But if x is bigger than 8, it would, oh, don't forget your equal sign. It should be colored in. So my 8 would be right here. And if I'm bigger, I would be colored in, going to the right. Less than or equal to 2, I would have my 2 right here, colored in because of the line under it, and I'm less than, so I'm going to the left. So once I get that fixed, it will be the graph that looks like this. So it's not an and graph. It's not connected. It's an or graph. All right? So I better remind myself I need to fix number 18. Okay, so next one, 19. The diagonal of a square measures the square root of 50 inches. What's the perimeter of the square? So this is awesome. This is actually related. If you draw yourself a picture, always, whenever in doubt, draw a picture. Whoops, let me start a new one. Okay, so if I have this picture, and diagonal means it goes across. So my diagonal of a square is the square root of 50. And I want to know what is the perimeter. So that means what is the side length, and then I need to get all the way around. So this is actually a triangle, which tells me when I scoot over here that I would need to use Pythagorean's theorem, okay, because it's a triangle. So I know that it is whatever the side length is. I'm going to just do some guess in, well, I can't really guess and check. So I'm just going to say side length in side lengths. So s squared, that's a s, plus, because this is Pythagorean, a squared plus b squared is c squared. So s squared plus another s squared is equal to the square root of 50. Oh goodness, this is a square. Oh my good gracious, is equal to the square root of 50, and you have to square that. Now that's going to give you something that's not going to have the square root. This would be a calculator option. So I just want to show you how you could type this in. You would go second square root 50, get out of the square root, square it. It will just turn to, oh, I'm in scientific mode. I have to go back to regular. Okay, clear. So second square root 50, get out of the square root, square it, and it's going to be 50. So, but I'll show you how to do that with our math. So I have 1s squared plus another s squared is a total of 2 of them. I actually have 2s squared. So 2s squared is equal to 50. I can do this. So 2s squared is equal, and we already evaluated the square root of 50 squared. It was just 50. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 2 so I can get my s squared by itself. So divide 2, and I'd get s squared is equal to 25. And then you got to get rid of your square root. So to get rid of this, or get rid of your square, so you square root, so your side is 5, even though my s looked like a 5 there. So that means that each measurement, each section is 5, and I want to know perimeter. So 5, this is 5, add around, plus another 5 is 10, add around, plus another 5 is 15, one more side, plus another 5 is 20. So the perimeter of that square would be 20. Okay, this one says, between which two consecutive integers does negative 15 lie? So I would do the square root of, was a negative on the outside? Yeah. So I got to make a negative on the outside. Negative second square root of 15. Get out of the square root, hit enter. Oh, I know what I did. I used my dash on my computer instead of this. Negative the square root of 15. Get out of the square root, enter. Negative 3.8. So it's definitely not between, negative 5 and 4. I think it's between these two because it's bigger than negative 3. So it would be B. It's between negative 4 and negative 3. Okay. A line has an equation, ax plus by equals c. For any line parallel to this line, what is the product of the slopes? So parallel means same. So parallel has the same slope. So I'm going to figure out the slope of this super fancy looking standard form equation. So what I would do is get y alone. So I'm going to subtract ax to both sides. I'm going to subtract my x term. So ax, you always move the x and divide by what's sticking to the y. Subtract ax. That would need to go in front of the c. So you would have by left. Oh, I need to do this. Just follow with me. So I would have by, like by, and then is equal to, and I subtracted 9ax to both sides. So you got to make the x term go in front of the c. So negative ax, over nothing right now, plus c. Okay, so that was the first step. Now I gotta make it over something because I'd have to move this b that's sticking to the y. So I'm going to divide all terms by b. Divide by b. And even though they're all letters, I mean, I'm really only going to care about the slope. So Now I have y equals negative a over bx plus c over b. And now I have y alone, like I wanted it to be. Even though it looks super algebraic with all these letters, but all we wanted was y alone. And then it says product of the slopes. So this is the slope of ax plus by is c, and the parallel line will have the same slope. So all I'm really going to do is square this. So negative a over b, and I'm going to times it by itself, times negative a over b. So negative a times negative a would be a positive a squared, whatever a is. You're going to square it, the negative will cancel out. Over b times b is going to just be b squared. So positive a squared over b squared, which happens to be c. 22. Okay, so look at the arithmetic sequence below for x is 0, 1, 2, and 3. Write an equation in the form f of x is equal to mx plus b for the arithmetic sequence, no spaces. So I have the f of x started for you here. It's the same as y equals mx plus b. The m is your constant rate of change, and this is your initial amount where you start. So your slope, I'm looking for my common difference here. It looks like I keep subtracting 6 to everything. Yep, I keep subtracting 6. So I know that it's going to be negative 6x. And then you always plug in when x is 0. So negative 6 times 0 would be 0. And to get to 200, you would add 200. It's always whatever your initial amount is. So negative 6x plus 200. So I'm going to type that in. And I'm going to say, I already have the f of x there, so just negative 6x plus 200. And then it says, what's the 31st term? So now I have my equation. I'm going to go negative 6 plus times 31 plus 200. Remember, or negative 6 times 31 plus 200 is 14. So that one wasn't too bad. You just got to remember for this, you look for that common difference, which was negative 6. And whatever the first term is like the y-intercept. Okay? So whatever the first term is the y-intercept. All right, number 23. Certain bacteria can double in number over a 45-minute period. Suppose a collection of 40 bacterium cells are placed in a petri dish. How many cells would there be in the petri dish after 3 hours? So anytime that they're telling me that things are doubling over a certain amount of time, that's like an exponential growth. Or you can think of it as a geometric sequence, a times b to the x. So a is the initial amount. So it's going to be, the initial amount was 40 times your growth factor, and my growth factor was 2. I kept doubling, times 2 to the, and then it says 3 hours, but everything, the doubling is in 45-minute increments. So I'm going to figure out how many minutes are in 3 hours. So I'm going to go 3, well, no, because I would be 3 times 60. 3 times 60 is 180 minutes in 3 hours. And then see how many 45s are in there. So divided by 45, 4. So it will be 2 to the 4th. And that's all I got to do. 40 times 2 to the 4th. Clear this. 40 times 2. There's that to the button. 4. Hit enter. 640. So D. Okay. And lastly, number 24. What is the equation of a line in standard form that passes through these 2 points? So this one's kind of hard. What I'm going to do is identify it in slope-intercept. I'm going to find my slope. I'm going to do point slope. And then I'm going to get y alone on all of these and find the match. That's what I think I'm going to do. So again, whenever in doubt, you can look to see What is the equation of the line in standard form? Standard form has the ax plus by is c, but I need to find my slope, and then I have my point, so I'm going to use point slope, and then I'm going to get it into slope intercept and identify. Holy moly, I'm using 1, 2, 3, 4 formulas here. Okay, so first things first, I need slope. So my slope, according to my formula, is second y take away the first over second x take away the first. So second y, 4, take away my first y, -1, over second x is -2, take away my first x, 3. Okay, and then I'm going to simplify that out here. That's a plus plus, so 4 plus 1 is 5. And then -2 minus 3, don't forget, don't make integer mistakes. That's a plus a neg. -2 minus 3 is a -5. So 5 over -5 is a -1. Okay, so I figured out my slope. Now I'm going to pick a point. I'm just going to pick the first one. I'm going to pick a point, and I'm going to use, after I pick this point, I'm going to use point slope. So y, take away the y they give me, I'm doing -1, is equal to my slope, -1, parenthesis, x, take away the x they gave me, which was 3. Okay, so I'm going to plus a negative here and distribute my -1 as well as turn this to plus. So y plus 1 is equal to -1 times x, would be -1x, plus -1 times -3 is +3. Okay, and then I need y alone, so I'm just going to go ahead and subtract 1, and you get y equals, I'm going to go ahead and let my 1 hide here, -x plus 2. 3 minus 1 is 2. Gosh, I feel like it would be easier to just get this to standard form instead of all these to slope intercept. Because standard just means get the x in front of the y. That's all it means. So that would be super easy. All I gotta do is add x and it's in front of the y and smush it in front. These I would have to get y alone in 4 things. So I think that I'm just gonna add x to both sides. I'm gonna turn this to standard form. Plus x. I'm gonna standard form, just a reminder, has x first, we're standard. Has x first, so it's gonna be x plus y equals 2. X plus y, I made my x come in front, down there. I made my x come in front, this is gone, and then this was a +2, equals +2. And now I'm just gonna find the match, and it's A. So that's day 2, problems 13 through 24. Come back for day 3 and 4.